Hi, it's Hannah. Welcome back. It is time for the summer perfume rotation. I'm calling it a summer perfume rotation because this is my rotation for the month of June and July. Some of you guys know that I do post a monthly rotation video at the end of every month to kind of sum up all the perfumes that I loved in the previous month and what I sampled and what I thought of the perfumes that I sampled. But I was traveling in June and July, so I wasn't in front of a camera to make a proper rotation video. So I've kind of combined both those months, and I'll share my favorite scents and the scents that I sampled over the past couple months. Sometimes I start these rotation videos by talking about something that is fragranced but not necessarily perfume. And today I am going to talk about one of my favorite candles, and that is the Winter Warmth Candle by the Better World Fragrance House. This is also known as Drake's perfume brand. It is in collaboration with Drake, yes, the rapper. I've talked about these candles before. I don't think I've ever mentioned the Winter Warmth Candle because I don't think I tried it before. There's 5 scents in the range of candles. My favorite one is called Carby Musk, so that's the one that I've burned the most. This time I tried Winter Warmth, and this is kind of a burning wood fire scented candle. I think it would work really well in the winter time, but it also works in the summer because it cuts through kind of any other scents that are in the air, and you just smell this smoky, woody kind of perfume in your home. So I really liked it. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite scent from this candle line. I still think that Carby Musk is my favorite. What's interesting is that Carby Musk is a little bit more expensive than any of the other candles, but I can see how if you're sick of smelling Carby Musk, then you might want to try something else. So this was one of the things that I enjoyed in the month of July. And again, it's called Winter Warmth. I have not seen these in store at all anymore. They used to be at Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada, or at least at the beauty boutiques in Canada, but they're not there anymore. I think you can smell these and the perfumes at the OVO store, wherever there is an OVO store near you. But otherwise, oh, I think Harrods also carries them, but otherwise you would have to order the candle or the perfumes online. So that's Winter Warmth, Better World Fragrance House. Check them out. The candles are really high quality candles. They're better than Nest candles, better than Voluspa. I would say they are like a luxury candle, like on par with Diptyque or Trudon, just in terms of how strongly scented they are and how intense the throw is when you light the candle. So I'm really impressed with them, and that's why I keep buying them and smelling them. So this one wasn't my favorite scent, but they're all really good and really well done. You can see that I keep the vessel that the candle comes in. I basically fill up the jar with boiling water, and then that melts all the leftover wax and stuff inside, and it kind of floats to the top. If you stick it in your fridge, it hardens again. You can pop it right out, and then I usually have to scrape out the little metal thing that holds the wick, and then I just reuse this. And I usually have like pens, or if they're smaller candle jars, I have like my samples or my decants in there that I'm testing or wearing. But yeah, I always keep these jars, and I probably have like dozens of them all over the place. Sometimes I put plants in them, sometimes I cut flowers and put flowers in them, but I just always keep the vessels, so that's why I have them. Let's move on to the perfumes that I wore over the last couple months. All of these, I would say, are great for warmer weather. I was in really hot weather over the past couple months. My vacation started with a stopover in Japan. I was in Japan for 1 day, and of course I wanted something to commemorate that trip, but I had also thought to myself that I wasn't going to make my trip to Japan and China only about perfume, because it kind of needs to be about something more than that. But I did want to go to Labo in Japan to pick up a bottle of Gaiac 10. So that is what I did. Here's my bottle of Gaiac 10. I did film an unboxing of it before I wore it. I picked this up in Tokyo. This is the exclusive scent to Tokyo. If you're interested in sampling any of the Labo city exclusives, in the month of August and September, they make available samples of all the city exclusives. You can buy 1 ml samples of all of them, or you can, I think, pick and choose which ones you want to try. I highly recommend doing that in the month of August and September, so that if you find yourself in the city where a city exclusive is available, you'll already know what it smells like, and then you can decide whether you want to pick that up as a souvenir. I visited the Ginza location of Labo in Tokyo. Ginza is kind of an upscale shopping area. Honestly, as a tourist, I didn't really find it to be very intriguing, because it could be like an upscale area in any city in the world. It didn't really have a lot of character to it. But the Labo store there was not busy at all. I was able to smell the things that I wanted to smell. There wasn't a line or anything like that. It was a very nice, comfortable shopping experience. I already had a sample of Gaiac 10 that I had smelled last year, so I knew what it smelled like. The perfumer behind this is Anique Minardo, and I love her work. So I just went in there and bought a bottle. It is very pricey. I think it comes out to about $500 Canadian. I don't really recommend buying something that expensive without sampling it first. Also, I found that when I was smelling things in the store itself is so heavily perfumed, as most perfume stores are. And I got there first thing in the morning, like I got there right when they opened. It already smelled so strong that I couldn't really smell anything else that I was testing out. It was also really, really hot that day. It was like 35 or 40 degrees, and of course super humid, because Japan is super humid. So I think I tried the Ambrette perfume on my skin, and I literally couldn't smell anything in the store, and I couldn't really make out what I was smelling afterwards either. So I mentioned this before, it's just nicer to sample things at home in your own environment, and then you can really see how they smell a little bit more clearly, and you're not as easily influenced to make a decision right away. Gaiac 10, you could see there's some missing. That's because before I went on more of my trip, I decanted some for myself, and I wore it throughout the month of July. This is a powdery, papery incense perfume. It's quite woody. I think the incense reads quite woody. It's got a little bit of cedar wood in it. It starts off really, really smoky, which is something that I think people associate with Gaiac wood, because Gaiac wood often is burned as incense, and so you get that smoky feel that burning Gaiac would have. But then it kind of changes into a different feel of a perfume. The thing that people sometimes forget about Labo scents is that even though it says Gaiac 10 on the bottle, your perfume or any of the Labo perfumes don't necessarily smell predominantly of that material. For example, something like Thé Noir 29, which is another one of my favorite Labo perfumes, that one smells like a big, fresh, dewy rose. It has tea in it. It does have black tea in it, but to my nose, it's actually more of a rose perfume that is bolstered or supported by a tea note and bergamot, and smells really fresh and rosy, pretty feminine too, actually, if I'm honest. So Gaiac 10 doesn't smell a lot like Gaiac wood or even burning Gaiac wood, but kind of replicates maybe the feel that you would have if you were burning Gaiac in your home or in kind of an incense altar type setting. It is so easy to wear. It's very calming. It's got a warmth to it that I think comes from a little bit of vanilla. But this is not a gourmand. There's just enough vanilla to kind of sweeten things up and make this into a unisex perfume instead of making it overly masculine. But I found this to be so easy to wear, and I got compliments on it every time I wore it, and so I kept wearing it. And this was really, I think, my perfume of the summer, and I love that, because what I wanted from this bottle was to have a memory of that one day that I had in Tokyo. And of course, I also want to create new memories with my perfumes, and I was able to do that, and I'll continue to do that. So that was Gaiac 10 by Le Labo. Let me know what you think about this. I'm still getting to know it, even though I wore it a ton in the month of July, but definitely it is one of my favorite Le Labo perfumes. I have reviewed a ton of them. I still have Rose 31. I still have Bergamot 22. If I had to put another one on my wish list, I'm not really sure what it would be. I guess we'll see. I'll have to sample some more of them maybe in the coming year, but this was mainly my perfume of the summer. Moving on, I left Tokyo after that one day, and I spent a few days in Shanghai in China. I didn't really take any perfume with me. I wanted to be open to not smelling anything or smelling other people's perfumes, and just appreciating the scents that I would encounter on my vacation. That being said, when I bought my bottle of Gaiac 10, I was given 2 Le Labo samples, so I did wear them over the course of my trip. The first one is Vetiver 46. This is done by Mark Buxton, and again, it smells quite different than the Vetivers that I am used to. I have Chantecaille Vetiver as my I guess my standby vetiver that I have in my perfume collection that I smell every time I want to wear a vetiver perfume. It smells a lot like Chanel Sycamore, so if you're familiar with that, you kind of have an idea of what this vetiver smells like. Vetiver 46 smells completely different. It's quite smoky, it's quite incensey, really dark, very masculine, very leathery. Different than the fresh, uplifting summertime vetiver that I have gotten to know and that I really love. Now, these Le Labo samples, and I just got some on my hand, these Le Labo samples are really small. I think they're just 1 ml or even less. Just a sec. It's 0.75 ml, so not even a 1 ml sample, but this is so strong that I would literally spray on or dab on just 1 or 2 dabs, and then I'd be able to smell it the whole entire day. I get bergamot and something citrusy on top, but the dry down is pure, intense, leathery, smoky incense. It's almost like someone's taken vetiver roots and you're in the dark, because the vetiver oil that's used in perfume comes from the roots of the vetiver grass, and it's like, you know, you're under the ground and you're setting these vetiver roots on fire, and the smoke from those roots is what you can smell in this perfume. It's really long lasting, very powerful, very intense, has an incredible amount of sillage. Not my ideal vetiver perfume, and it did not make my wish list, but definitely an interesting perfume and worth talking about and worth sampling also. If you think that Le Labo is a little bit too industrial and maybe a little bit clinical at times, and some of their scents are too familiar and played out, then sample Vetiver 46 because it really changed what I thought of the brand. This is something that is way more interesting and complex, and just, you know, takes that material and looks at it from a different point of view. And I love it when perfume does that. I also received a sample of Ylang 49, and I wore that a few times because, like I said, I didn't really have anything else with me to wear. So some days I just really wanted to have a perfume to kind of tap into and think about from time to time. So again, pulled out my little dabber bottle of Ylang 49. This was, yeah, a different take on Ylang Ylang. It's missing the minty, refreshing aspects of that material and really giving you a tropical take on Ylang. It smells a lot like jasmine, and that is mainly what I got from this scent. It was quite a bit, oops, wow, I just spilled so much on my hand. It's quite a bit easier to wear than the Vetiver 46. It's very green, very fresh. I guess that's why I found it easier to wear, because, oh my gosh, it literally emptied the whole bottle on myself. Look, it's all done now. Very green, very fresh, not incredibly long lasting, a little bit indolic, floral, feminine. Even as I smell it right now, I have to say that it's not wowing me in any way. I would love to smell like it. I would love it if someone else smelled like this. I would love a candle that smelled like this, or a soap that smells like this, because it is so fresh. But as a perfume, I can't imagine being compelled to add this to my collection and it bringing anything that's unusual or new to what I already have. I think it's done in a kind of vintage style that really feels a little bit old school, and I have a ton of older vintagey perfume in my collection already, and I feel like those scents are generally very easy to find, and they can be found at discounters and for not a lot of money. So if you want to smell like Ylang 49, you could buy an older Guerlain or an older Chanel, and for less money have the same type of effect. I can see why the fragrance people that I respect and whose taste I love and who I follow, and I love reading their writing, I can see why they like something like Ylang 49, because we all love the same vintagey kind of opulent perfumes. But at the same time, it doesn't bring anything new to that golden era of perfume, let's say. So didn't make my wish list because I think I have lots of other things in my collection already that kind of give me the same type of buttoned up feminine feel, but it is a really nicely done perfume, and that's Ylang 49, which I barely have a drop of left because you can see I also somehow spilled it in the in the packet. So that's probably what I'm going to be smelling all day now. I'm okay with that. I think it works really well as a candle or a soap or a room freshener, but I don't need it as a perfume. Moving on, I said that I didn't really travel with a lot of perfume, and I didn't. So I did wear these Le Labo scents the most over the last little bit in June. But in July, I was back home, I repacked, I was in Toronto for a little bit. I always travel with a decant of Santa Maria Novella Lana. That's why this bottle has a little bit of a dent in it, because I know that I have some in my swimming bag. I've had some in my desk at work for a long time, and I basically finished another 10 ml over this last month. Now this is a rose perfume, but it has a really strong green pepper note in it. It's quite peppery, quite pungent, and that makes it a very, very unique green rose perfume. I think that if I had to compare it to anything else I've smelled, it would be Diptyque Kyoto, because that also has a pepper note in it. The pepper note in Lana is a little bit stronger and very long lasting. It kind of just sticks to your clothes and you can smell it forever. But the rose is really fresh and uplifting, and so this works really well as a summer scent because you can keep spraying it and keep smelling that rose. And then the pepper is really earthy and it's combined with some vetiver, which kind of gives you this air-conditioned hotel lobby kind of feel. And so Lana works really well in the summertime. So I have worn this a lot on vacation. I always have positive scent memories with it, and I can kind of wear it anytime I want to be uplifted. So I wore a lot of that. That's Santa Maria Novella Lana. Again, because of this pepper note, I don't think that this is a safe blind buy. I think you really have to enjoy that note and be comfortable smelling like it. Even if you like wearing rose perfumes, I think you would find something very, very different about Lana. Like the Vetiver 46 and the Ylang 49, no matter how much you like those notes by themselves, these perfumes just give you a different way of looking at them and a different way of wearing them and experiencing them, which I really appreciate. This is not your average fresh rose, green rose perfume. It's just so easy to wear that I always have it around and I always love wearing it. Another scent that I wear a ton of every summer is Cologne Celeste by Celine. Again, yes, look at the dent on that bottle. I do decant some of this for myself every time I travel because it's another one of those scents that is just so easy to spray on and just keep respraying in hot weather. It's never going to offend anyone. You're never going to have someone walk into a room and be like, what's that smell? It's just going to smell fresh and citrusy. The main feel of Cologne Celeste is that it is a very typical, iconic eau de cologne type scent profile. So if you're familiar with 4711, which is neroli based, or you're familiar with a Chanel eau de cologne or maybe a Guerlain eau de cologne, it's very similar to all of those, except it really taps into the Celine DNA, which is to put a ton of iris in the perfume and have kind of a powdery, earthy iris backbone to everything. So yes, we've got tons of neroli and other citruses on top. The neroli is quite green, it's quite sharp, it's bitter, but then the dry down is powdery, a little bit vanillic, and there's a good amount of ambrette in this perfume so that it sticks to your skin a little bit more and you get that fresh, clean skin out of the shower type of feel. This is an eau de parfum concentration, even though the perfume itself is called Cologne Celeste. I think it's called Cologne Celeste to make you think of the typical eau de cologne scent profile, but it is not an eau de cologne. It's actually done as an eau de parfum so that it has a little bit more lasting power. Still, if you are already familiar with a typical eau de cologne, you might not find anything groundbreaking about Cologne Celeste, except that it does last longer than most eau de colognes, and it is in a huge bottle, so you can spray or splash it on and enjoy it whenever you want. So this is another one that I seem to travel with all the time, and I just love wearing. It might not be strong enough for everybody, because I know people want things that are very, very long lasting, but I have never been the person that wants to spray things and then smell them into the next day. I'm actually okay with respraying stuff and freshening up any chance I get. So Cologne Celeste by Celine is very much my type of perfume, and I love wearing this in hot weather. I will continue to wear it probably in the month of August as well. Also ended up finding a sample of Seline La Peau Nue this summer, and so I took this with me and I wore this a lot over the month of July. Now, I heard a rumor that the perfumer behind La Peau Nue is also Anique Minardo, same person that did Gaiac 10, same person that did Bois d'Argent by Dior, and you know, I've said this almost every single video. That's one of my favorite perfumes. La Peau Nue by Celine is not my favorite in the Celine lineup. I did finish my sample of it because I didn't really have a lot else to wear, and I did find this to be really easy to wear, so I just kind of reached for it a lot and sprayed it a lot. But it just reminds me of nail polish remover, and so I don't love wearing this one. It does have rose in it, and again, keeping in line with the Celine DNA, it has a lot of powder, and it's got vanilla in it, and I like that it fits that Celine DNA. I love that Celine DNA. But La Peau Nue, I think there's like aldehydes in the opening also, and that kind of always gives me, well, that paired with the rose maybe is what reminds me of nail polish remover. So it's not my favorite Celine in the Celine lineup, but all of these are so classic and formal in a way. Like, they just make you feel really put together. I think the person that's going to enjoy wearing La Peau Nue, or maybe even adds La Peau Nue to their perfume wardrobe, is someone that needs to get dressed up to go to work every day, because this just reads as a buttoned up, professional, polished person, probably wearing a blazer or a business suit and nice shoes. That is the person that's going to like La Peau Nue. This isn't loud. It's not overly dramatic, but it does make a statement in how polished and effortless it feels. This is the person that's wearing the business suit or wearing the blazer and looks completely at home dressed that way. Like, this, that's not them dressing up. That's just them showing up to what they've earned and what they are confident doing. Like, there is this confidence that comes out in La Peau Nue, and I admire that. It's just not very me. So I didn't really want to wear this that much, and I wouldn't add it to my perfume collection, but I totally understand if it resonates with someone else, because there is this effortless confidence and polished kind of feel that comes out in this scent, and you know, I admire it for that. So that is La Peau Nue. The last perfume that I'm going to mention is Lancome Idole Power. This was sent to me in PR, so full disclosure, I did not have to pay for my bottle, but I'm under no obligation to talk about it right now. This is listed as being a dupe for Amouage Guidance. Now, I don't have Guidance in my collection, so I wasn't able to compare it right away. I had a friend bring over her bottle of Guidance, and we did compare side by side, and I could see some of the similarities. What stood out to me about Lancome Idole Power and why there's such a big dent in this perfume is that there is a really strong rose note in it, and I love rose perfumes. There's also sandalwood in the dry down that's quite creamy. It's not your typical Javanol kind of sandalwoody scent. It's not what you would smell in Serge Lutens' Santal Majuscule, but there is that same creaminess that sandalwood presents, my opinion is that L'Oreal has a sandalwood adjacent molecule or accord that they are trying to use, and that they're putting in a whole bunch of things, and it does come out in Lancome Idole Power. I wore this a lot. I really do enjoy this scent. It was not on my radar. I haven't sampled any of the other in the series of Idole perfumes. I know when this first launched, this bottle was kind of poo-pooed at because it's so thin, and it was supposed to look like a cell phone, and people thought it wasn't going to stand up on its own. I don't know if that was always the case or if they changed the bottle design after that, but now it does have a wider bottom, so you can stand the bottle up really easily, and there's no problem with having it on a shelf. Then I was in China. I got kind of a tour of Shanghai by a friend, and one day we were walking around in this shopping area, and I noticed that there was an Amouage store there. So of course I had to go, even though I said that this trip was not going to be about perfume. You know, if I stumbled upon a store, I was going to go inside. There was never any question about that. So we went into the Amouage store, and they didn't have the newest one, which is Existence. They didn't have Outlands from the 3 that launched last year, but we did spray Luster on paper, and we sprayed Guidance on paper and a couple other ones. And then we left the store and we went to lunch. And of course, typical of perfume stores, there were scent strips and we could spray stuff, but there were also no pens. So we walked out with our scent strips, but we kind of lost track of what we had sprayed where. And we went to eat lunch. So we're sitting down, we're eating lunch, and the scent strips are, you know, beside us. And as we're waiting for our food, we're picking up the scent strips and smelling them. And my friend was completely blown away. She was like, I've never smelled perfume that's like this. By then, she knew that I was a bit of a frag head, and so she was telling me about the perfumes she wears, and she was no stranger to perfumes, but this was the first time she had smelled Amouage perfumes, and she thought that they were really interesting and loved the bottle design, and she couldn't wait to go back and smell more. But we're smelling these scent strips, and we haven't written down what's on each one. So I'm smelling them, and I know the 4 that I sprayed, but I can't remember which is which. I'm smelling them, and I was able to identify Luster, and I was able to also identify Guidance because the rose in it felt so familiar. And the rose in Guidance is paired with a pear note. It's quite syrupy, it's quite sweet, it's quite potent and intense, and it really reminded me of the rose note in Lancome Idole Power. And the rose here is paired with apple, so they say, but that apple could easily be pear. When I first smelled this, I thought I smelled a lot of lychee. Of course, all those fruits are so closely related, but we're really getting fruits in a good dose of syrup. So they are quite jammy and sweet as a top note, and paired with the rose, they are absolutely delicious. So the rose comes off as being syrupy and sweet and jammy instead of being a rose that is fresh and green like it is in Santa Maria Novella Lana. The thing that Guidance and Idole Power have in common is that rose note is the pear and the sweetness of the pear or lychee or apple, or however you interpret that fruit that's paired with a rose, and then a really creamy dry down. So in Guidance, I think they say that it's hazelnut, and here they say that it's sandalwood. I think it's essentially the same type of formula that they've kind of just changed a little bit, and this is the Guidance for the Lancome customer who I don't know who's buying this. Like, who is still going to a Lancome counter? So here it is for the Lancome customer, and then for the niche lover, they are going to get it in Guidance and in Guidance 46. I couldn't really wear Guidance. I didn't find that it was for me, but I absolutely love wearing Lancome Idole Power. I don't know, maybe I just have really basic taste and I am the actual Lancome customer. Like, I love my designer perfume. I think that's true about me. Guidance, I didn't like Guidance when I sampled it. Every time I've sampled it, it just hasn't worked for me. But for some reason, Lancome Eau Power does work for me. I think it just like cuts through any of the top notes that are in the Amouage and gets right to that pear, lychee, rose accord, and I can pull that off. I really enjoy wearing that. I do think that even for me, this is a little bit too strong and my nose really tires of it towards the end of the day. I can spray it on my knees or my ankle, but even then, I can only take 1 or 2 sprays because it's just too strong of a perfume for me. If you're a person that maybe lives in a really humid, really hot area, maybe this would just work for you. When we sprayed Guidance on paper, the top notes, of course, left really quickly. Again, Shanghai was super hot. It was 34, 40 degrees. It was very, very humid. So those top notes really disappeared quickly, and we were left with this really sweet, fruity rose. And it just shone on paper and was so compelling. Maybe it'll work differently in hot weather. I've only worn this here at home where it is dry and kind of cold. It's like 10 degrees today, even though we're in the end of July. So it's too strong for me here, but maybe it won't be as strong in really hot, really humid weather. And try it. If you are a person that wants to add Guidance to your collection, but maybe you can't sample it very easily, I bet you could get to a Lancome counter and sample this more easily than you could sample Guidance. And if you find that Guidance is too expensive, but you like that DNA, then maybe sample this, because again, this is going to be maybe half the price and you could get the same feel of Guidance without spending $400 or $300, however much you would spend on Amouage Guidance. Just saying. So is this a dupe for Guidance? I don't know. Maybe. And maybe we're in this era, you know, this is how people get fatigued of perfume, is they feel like they're smelling the same stuff everywhere. And they're not wrong. I think it takes a bit of digging to find stuff that's really unique and really different. And that definitely comes out, you know, when I talk about something like Ylang 49 by Labo. It doesn't really smell unique or different, but Vetiver 46 does. So I was wowed by that. If you want to smell something that's different, you really have to look for it. And it's not that easy to find, actually, because things do start smelling the same, especially as these companies outsource their perfume making to these bigger perfume oil houses, you know? And then you do start smelling those same accords again and again. The pear in Guidance or the fruit note that's in Lancome Eau Power, I smelled the same sort of accord when I sprayed or I wore Kerastase's Gloss Absolute hair serum, and I just wore that last week. I got my hair done a few days ago and my hairstylist used it on me and I could smell the same accord. So it's really clear that sometimes these big companies are buying, you know, gallons of this stuff, and then they're like, well, we got to use it up, let's just put it in everything. And you smell it in your hair stuff, and then you smell it in your perfume, and you smell it in your body lotion, and then you start being like, oh my god, it's just everywhere and it's just so basic and all perfume smells the same, and why should I even bother? And you know, you're not wrong. If you think that, you're not wrong. Trust your nose. Everything does smell the same sometimes. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you like it, like I like this. I don't like it as much in the Kerastase stuff. It's just different. And I still am not compelled enough to buy a bottle of Amouage Guidance, but I will wear this and I will enjoy this. So that is my very long story about Lancome Eau Power. I know I'm not for dupes, and I like the concept or the idea that, you know, perfumers are creating art, and if you believe in supporting art, then you should buy the original, but that's really hard to do when a brand like Amouage is also selling stuff that smells the same as other brands. I also know that L'Oreal now owns, and by the way, L'Oreal is the brand behind Lancome, that's why I keep saying L'Oreal, but L'Oreal is now part owner, has a stake in Amouage. So were they always just like, this just makes sense because we use the same perfume house and we clearly have the same values? Is it just that, oh, Amouage makes so much money and clearly makes these mass appealing perfumes, we need a cut of that? Like, who really knows? Who really knows how these things work? But are we now going to have that Amouage DNA come through, trickle down into these cheaper brands that are also owned by L'Oreal? I bet we will. And this is just the beginning. We're going to start to smell it in lots of other brands that are owned by Group L'Oreal. Anyways, thank you to Lancome for sending me this bottle because I truly do enjoy it and I will continue to wear it. And I think that if I hadn't had this bottle at home in my hand, and when I get something in PR, I just spray it on paper, smell it completely blind, and kind of make my mind up from there. I think if I hadn't had this, I would have never discovered it, and I would never have connected it to Guidance. So there you go. And I know people have mixed feelings about content creators getting stuff in PR, but here we are. This was an honest review and an honest kind of discussion about where this DNA comes from and how it's done here. And that's pear note. I smell that same pear note in Merit Retrospect, which is a perfume I've reviewed a while back. Merit is a small makeup brand, and they launched their own perfume this year, and I got a bottle of the perfume. I bought a bottle of the perfume because I loved how it smelled, but it really starts with this juicy, jammy, canned pear in syrup kind of note, and then turns into something soapy. So I really enjoyed wearing that. But they're not creating their perfume in-house. They are outsourcing it, and they're no doubt doing some sort of market research, and these perfume houses are saying, like, yeah, try this pear because it's doing really well for these other brands, and maybe your customer will like it as well. And then we have it in Merit Retrospect too. It's kind of how things are done, Anyways, that's it for me. I'm so happy to be back home, and hopefully this video will not be too long and too rambly because I haven't really recorded anything in a while or talked to a camera in a while. Let me know what you've been wearing this summer, and I will see you next time. I got a whole bunch of samples sent to me, and I'm going to review them all in the month of August. So really looking forward to sampling some more because I found I was getting kind of bored of everything. Someone asked me to do a review of the Santa Maria Novella perfumes that I've tried in the past year. I made a collection video a while ago and I haven't updated that, so I'll do that this summer too. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.